Welcome. In front of me is the brand new device from Xiaomi, the POCO X5, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick look at the specs and just pop it straight open. So there we go, that's all we get in the box. Now, before I get started with any kind of specs and stuff like that, I'm going to quickly mention that this device comes at about $250 US. So it is I would consider a mid-range device at this price range. So for that price, we get a 6.67 inch display with a 120 Hz refresh rate AMOLED type of display right here, 700 typical brightness, 1200 nits peak brightness, 85% screen to body ratio with 395 pixels per inch, which puts it at 1080p by 2400 resolution. So the display right here is pretty nice. Now just quickly go through the setup. Now one of the things that I do kind of see is looking a little bit wonky in this display is the bottom bezel. This chin is a little bit big for my liking, but then again, like I mentioned, this device is basically a mid-range, and I would consider this to be like a beginning of the mid-range prices, considering, I don't know, mid-range would be up to like 500 or even more. So this, some people would even probably consider this device to still be in maybe even a budget range, which again, the display right here already, I would say, makes up most of the price right here, so it is a pretty nice display in general. Now moving on to, once I actually finish the setup, to the cameras at the back. Yep, I'm gonna do it right now. We have a triple camera setup, so we have a main sensor at 48 megapixels f1.8 with PDAF, 8 megapixel ultra wide f2.2, and then we got a sticker camera, which is a 2 megapixel macro. I'm not even going to go into depth into this one because it's absolutely garbage, and it will be outperformed by the 48 megapixel wide sensor in basically any kind of scenario. So this is literally a sticker camera. I can take a nail, drive it straight through that lens, and you won't see much of a difference in your pictures. Anyway, moving on. At the front, once I actually put that case on, there we go, we have a 13 megapixel wide sensor, as you can see in this hole punched camera right here, and that's about all for the cameras. We can shoot at 1080p 30 frames at the front and back, so again, not the greatest kind of frame rates for such a device. Now, moving on to the internals here. Well, that's interesting. Anyway, moving on to the internals here, we are being powered right here by a Snapdragon 695, which is a 5G chipset right here. It has either 6 or 8 gigs of RAM, depending on which option you go for. If you go for the low-end model, we get 128 gigs of storage with 6 gigs of RAM, and the higher one comes with 256 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. So not only are you upgrading the storage, you're also upgrading the RAM. In both cases, I believe 6 gigs should be sufficient enough to do basically anything that you throw at this device, maybe apart from like gaming, because the processor right here isn't necessarily the most powerful. Gaming on this device might not be the optimal kind of experience. Unless you're doing maybe cloud gaming, at that point, I should be just fine. We also have a pretty big battery right here, which is a 5000 milliamp hour battery. Decent charger at 33 watts, so that's also another positive. And let's see if they advertise any kind of charging speeds. So no, they don't. Okay. And yeah, so that's basically all the internals right here. One more thing to mention is just features, I guess. So we have a fingerprint sensor on the power button right over here. We have a headphone jack, which is a rarity. We also have an IR blaster right up here next to it, so you can use this device as a remote control for like ACs, TVs, and basically any kind of other devices that just need a remote control, assuming it's not Bluetooth. But even if it is Bluetooth, you can still do it, just in a different way. Type-C charging port at the bottom. The case does have a little bit of a plug for it, so just gonna need to flip it up. We have a microphone, speaker grills, and that's about it. Now we do also have a SIM tray right here. This looks to be just a SIM, but I could be wrong. This is a mid-range or budget device, depending how you look at it, so it could come with a SD tray. So I'm gonna take it out, and yes, it does. So we do have a SIM and SD tray. Now you can use two different SIM cards, but if you use two SIM cards, you lose your SD tray, because you would just place one of the SIMs here. But still, you can go for the lower end if you want to, and pop in a SD card into here and have significantly more storage on this device, which is really nice. And yeah, so with this being said, this would conclude like the overview of, or the spec look. So just to quickly go over the positives right here and the negatives for everybody. We have a decent display right here. So the brightness right here, which I can crank it up right now, as you can see, it gets pretty bright. This is also inside with not the best lighting. So if you go outside, this display might even get brighter for like short periods of time, obviously. We have a really good battery right here at 5000 milliamp hours, and we have a pretty decent like RAM options for the price. So 6 or 8 gigs, I would say, is sufficient enough for almost any device with the processor that this comes with. And we have a charger, which isn't like super great, but it's also not bad by any means, just to kind of point that out there. This charging speed, even not even the charger, this charger or speed is significantly better than what Samsung flagship devices like the Fold 4, for instance, comes with, and even the S23. So, oh, and I'm not even mentioning the charger which comes with the device, because we actually get one, unlike flagship Samsungs. Go figure. And I think those are, well, primarily the positive things. Now to go over the negatives. The 2 megapixel macro, they could have just gone about and not included at all, and then you wouldn't need to pay for just absolute shit of a camera that you will never use, because that's the actual truth. You will never use this sensor. So that's number one. Number two, we only have a downfiring speaker right here, which will produce probably just a kind of flimsy sound. I haven't tested it, but this is my presumption. And the processor right here will be on a weaker side. It's only a Snapdragon 695, so it is a 5G chipset, but to be honest, I would prefer to have a faster processor without the 5G, because personally, and just kind of generally, you probably won't be using it all that much. 5G isn't as reliable as you might be led to believe. So to be honest, I would prefer to have a faster phone and just not even any kind of 5G connectivity on it. And that's about all I can say negative. Oh, and one more, I guess there is one more thing. The UI might leave a little bit to be desired for some people. It's obviously nothing near stock Android, as you can see. So it's really up to you if you like it or you don't. It also comes with just a bunch of bloatware, which just don't. So as you can see, we have just some stupid games installed. We have AliExpress, Booking.com, and plenty of other ones. So yeah. But all in all, the phone, for the price, I would say bulk of the price that you will pay is most likely just in the display alone, because the display right here is pretty nice. Unfortunately, from what I can see, by default, the 120 Hz refresh rate, which comes with this device, is turned off for some odd reason. So you need to literally go into settings and come on, and then enable it under the display to get the full nice butter smooth refresh rate, which obviously it's something that you most certainly would want to enable. After all, it's one of the key benefits of this device, and it's like biggest selling point. So anyway, with this being said, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.